Joe Colasuonno, what is up, brother? Welcome to the Financial Freedom Fast podcast. What is going on, man?
Yeah, what's going on?
Not too much over here. So Joe actually invests in a town that's not too far away from me, probably 20 minutes away, Allentown, PA, and he's built up a very impressive portfolio. I want to dig into that a little bit today. So Joe, let's just start off with, what have you built for yourself? Let's give everyone kind of the 5-minute story of your life. What led you here and what have you built up?
Sure. Yeah. So we have just under 500 doors in Allentown, PA. We built it up over 12, 13 years now, and we're vertically integrated. So we do the general contracting, construction, renovation work ourselves. We do the property management ourselves as well. Everything's in-house, and we've gotten pretty decent at it over the years to that. We kind of have a small team, but our team's all aces. We have real good guys working for us. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to have built what we built in that time. But yeah, so we started off 2009, 2010, depths of the recession, bought a 31 unit apartment building with hard money, 14% interest, wasn't making any monthly distributions to ourselves because everything was going right to the bank. But at the time I was young, I was unfinanceable. Didn't really have any income, just graduated out of grad school, spent a year kind of bootstrapping it, learning how to solder in a basement on an iPhone, figuring out how to install a water heater on YouTube, that kind of stuff, painting apartments, renting apartments. In the beginning, we would rent to anybody you had a heartbeat, you're good, man. Come on in. We're cool. No problem. And learned quickly that wasn't the best way to operate. Had to go through a lot of evictions as a result of that. Not doing any background checks, not doing any income verification, nothing. And really kind of just learned the business trial by error, really, and made tweaks and modifications to how we operated over the course of the last decade and change, and was able to build up to where we are now. But even as of 4 or 5 years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, we were just, succeeding only because we were just literally grinding as hard as we could, taking every dollar that we were making and just rolling it into the next deal,
Right.
I'm a deal junkie, so I could never say no to a good deal, even if I didn't have the money to buy it. And that was a struggle for me for a long time because I was always forget cash poor. I was cash bankrupt. Didn't have anything. Anything I had would just go into the next property. Not the best way to operate and we did it for a long time that way. But when a property comes up and it's such a grand slam, it was just hard for me to pump the brakes. I still have that issue, but now I make sure to keep a decent amount of liquidity and a nice cushion for all of our operating properties.
Awesome. So just to clarify for the listeners, when Joe says 500 doors refers to apartments, is it all multifamily apartment buildings?
Yeah, mostly. We had at one point probably had about 20 or so single families mixed in there. Got rid of a lot of those. I think only one or two, one maybe left, two max. They're single family now. So yeah, most of our stuff we got rid of that was even under 10 units, to be honest with you. So most of our stuff right now is around 10 doors or larger. The biggest one being 30 something units, 35 units maybe.
So you stick within that range between 10
I'll buy anything.
10 to 35.
Yeah, that's what I'll hold, but I'll buy anything. I have 2 units that we picked up in the last few months that I'm just going to fix up and just resell, just get rid of them because we got a good deal.
Flip them quick. Yeah. Nice. So you mentioned grinding. You were grinding, and is that still the case? You said 5 years ago we were really grinding, throwing the dollars in as we go. Is that still the case? Have you backed off at all, or are you still doing the day-to-day as hard as?
Yeah, I mean, I hate it sounds cliche when you use the term grinding, but what I was meaning is the hustle of it, where I'm just working a stupid amount of hours a week, taking every dollar somewhat recklessly and just reinvesting my money in myself, just reinvest it. We had the benefit looking back that the market was going up during that time, right? We didn't really have much of a cushion for a lot of years. And if things went south, which was a little reckless, but also it allowed us to really take advantage of a lot of the properties that were a steal that came up that were for sale. Just to put this in perspective, I remember this is probably going back 2015. Property comes on the market. It was a 5-unit property and it got listed for $59,000 and all 2 bedrooms, decent square footage with a little parking lot. And I didn't have 60 grand at the
Right.
time. And I called the guy up and I locked it up like without seeing it. No, what I was like, whatever it is, I'll take it. It's fine. No problem. And I remember we had to close on it cash because our hard money loan that we had to buy the deal wasn't ready. Like we had to bridge the gap for, I don't know, maybe it was like a week or two, something like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have 60 grand. I remember going to my property and going into the laundry rooms and taking out my coins and bringing them to a check cashing place to get money orders. You know what I mean? I was that short. Like it was that tight. Like I emptied out every bank account that I had to just do that and bridge the gap for that week or two.
Yeah.
So I could get the debt on it. And it sounds crazy talking about it now, but like literally like taking every single dollar and just to buy that stupid deal that I sold a few years later for $360,000. You know what I mean?
You knew that you were going to find the money. You didn't know exactly where you're going to do it, but you were determined to get it done and you were able to get it done.
Right.
So it sounds like with the way that you invested and where you started investing, that fear didn't, either you weren't affected by fear, you ignored it, or you looked at the upside rather than the downside of these investments. Were you scared with any of these investments? Did you doubt yourself, or did fear not play a factor for you?
I was fortunate enough that like my father's like my role model. He was like a fearless guy always with investing, real estate, starting businesses, whatever he was doing. He was like glass is always half full. We figure it out. A good deal's a good deal. Like don't let one slip by. I don't know if I've never really been motivated by fear in that respect where, hey, look, I'm nervous this deal is going to go south. Typically, if I'm buying the deal, it's a home run. I don't really pick up like a lot of the singles. I'm never concerned about the deal situation. What would concern me is obviously my liquidity position. That was a concern for a while, which ended up being the reason why I remember the first GoBundance event that I went to back in, I don't remember when the hell that was, 2018, 2017, maybe? I don't know, something. I did a one sheet for the first time, and I was supposed to put in what my goal was for the year. I made my goal to have 6 months worth of liquidity in all my operating accounts for each entity. And I didn't get it that year, but the year after I did, and I've had it ever since. So it's always been something that I've been cognizant of. But it wasn't until the last few years when I had start selling some things, because I was always a buy and hold guy where I was like, I would buy it and I wouldn't even think about selling.
We're never going to sell this for the next,
Right.
Not when I die, my kids will get it with no capital gains. That's where we're going.
Started selling a few things in that 2018 range and getting some liquidity events that like I never really had before. And I used to keep my leverage super low. I still do. My leverage across my entire portfolio, mostly thanks to appreciation, is about 45%. So, so it's really low, but I'm a big believer in keeping low debt on it and obviously to keep that liquidity, to keep that cushion. I've seen a lot. I built my business on the backs of every guy that bought in 2008, 2007, 2006, and just did it the wrong way. And I did it the wrong way for a long time, building my business because I was just scrappy and just a little reckless with how I was buying. But I'm at a point now where, look, the market's appreciated. I'm locked in real good. I have good debt, and I'm able to maintain the proper liquidity going forward. I don't know if I would recommend doing it the way I did it to somebody else. It worked for me, but there's a lot of extenuating factors that allowed it to work, including a 10-year, 12-year run on the market.
So let's jump back, because a lot of the listeners are going to be at that beginning stage of maybe they are buying their first property. Jumping back to when you were 24 years old, buying that first property, was there apprehension behind buying it? Why did you know that was the right way to go? How did you take it from there and scale it? A lot of people will start with, like myself, I started with a 4-unit building.
Yep.
And went that way. What made you say, I'm starting at 31 units? This is it.
Yeah. So I guess a couple things. So I was in grad school. I was getting my master's in biomedical science. So like I was going towards the med school route, taking my MCATs, doing that whole thing.
Right.
And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad of all books, and I had this come to moment like, why am I going for medicine? Like, why do I want to be a doctor? And I did a little bit of self-reflection and realized that my motivation to become a doctor was, as selfish as it is, because I thought doctors made a lot of money. I was right. And that was instilled in me from a young age. And I came to the realization I wasn't doing it because I liked it. I wasn't doing it because I had a passion for medicine or that as terrible as it sounds, like I didn't have a passion for going out and helping people that were sick. Like
you wanted to make as much money as possible, and that was the way that you saw that society.
I was good at science. I was good at math, and
right.
And I was a smart kid, and that's the route that I took since even as young as being in like 7th or 8th grade. You know what I mean? And I had a small business on the side while I was in grad school that did custom ping pong balls, and I would sell them to fraternities. I would sell them to spring break companies as promotional stuff, and nobody else was doing them at the time. I was like one of the first companies that did custom ping pong balls, because it sounds a little ridiculous, but we did it. That came out of me being in college and thinking it was a good idea junior year, and I started this business, and it was making me like $40,000 a year, just drop shipping with a printer and advertising and whatever. And I was spending more time on that than I was studying for my grad school classes. And I ended up selling that business to another kid that was still in college. And I decided that I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I said, I don't want to do my own thing. I don't want to, I never even took a business class. I never took Econ 101. I didn't know supply and demand, no idea. And it was like, I opened a door that just got me excited. And my father was a builder, so I'd been around real estate for a long time, working on construction sites in the summers and that kind of thing. So went and I was trying to find, hey, where can I buy my first property? Where can I do this? I was looking in Jersey, that's where I'm from, and everything was a little too expensive for me in New Jersey. And my father was doing a project up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. To that, why don't you look out here? It's a lot more affordable, a lot cheaper. You can buy properties for. And I went under contract on an 8-unit for $240,000, and with no idea what the process is to buy it. I had no idea what I was doing. Luckily, I put a mortgage contingency on there because I was not financeable. I couldn't get a mortgage. And so I backed out and said, hey, look, I can't get the mortgage, and got my deposit money back. It was right after that, a couple blocks away, his 31 unit came up, and it was listed for $650,000, $649. And we saw it, and my father was like, oh, look at this one. This one's half the price per unit that you were going to pay. For the other one, why don't we look at this? Yeah. So I took a look at it, and I said, all right, fine. So we locked it up at $649. And at that point, I figured out the financing thing by just Googling it, and I found out about hard money. And so I used a broker to figure out a hard money loan for the property. And at that time, banks were super tight because they were still reeling from the recession.
12% you probably paid?
I paid 14 and 3 points. 14 and 3 points is what I paid.
Wow.
And it was a short sale, so the process took a really long time to buy that property. And it was also like, it was 5 different parcels, all contiguous next to each other.
Right.
So going back and forth to the bank, figuring everything out, all this, that, and the other thing, it took us about 6 months to get to the closing table. And I got my commitment on the loan. I'm like, got the money to buy it. And we were about 3 weeks away, and I get a phone call from the listing agent, who was also the receiver on the property. And he said, hey, we got a double shooting in the property. We got a homicide, and the other person's in critical condition. And I'm like, it was a drug deal gone bad. And I remember being on the phone and being like, what am I fucking doing? What am I doing?
Right.
So like having this flashback, I'm like, I should be in medical school right now. Why am I doing this? Like drug deals, shootings, like what am I buying? And a perfect example of like my father instilling that no fear mindset.
Right.
His first reaction is ask for a reduction in the price. And I was like, I wasn't even thinking. I was thinking all internal. Hey, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is stupid.
Yeah.
He was like, how can you turn this around to make it more beneficial for you?
An even better deal.
So he's asked for 75,000. And I was like, I'm not asking for 75,000. It's insane. It's insensitive. Right. It's crazy. It makes no sense. I do it. I asked for 75. They came back in like an hour. They said, how's 40? And I was like, that'll work. That'll work. And so we closed it at 609. Wow. Hard money loan. And and I spent about a year there, literally doing everything: maintenance, renting apartments, painting, collecting rents, going to evictions, doing the whole nine, and just learning the business from there. And it was a really weird time to be investing because how old are you? You're what?
25.
Yeah. So you're around how old I was right back then. It's not like it is today where you have to work hard to find a deal today. We're like, there were any property that was just on the market was insane. And if you really spent time, you could find the deals that like I found where I bought a 15 unit building off Craigslist. It was listed on Craigslist for sale and met the owner. He brought me to his bank. He was in foreclosure and brokered a deal for me where I bought that building. I maintained their principal so they didn't lose money on their principal debt. Bought it with $0 out of my pocket except for like $6,000 in closing costs.
Wow.
So I bought that building $586,000. It was a block away from my 31 building.
Oh.
So I bought that with $6,000. Okay. That building today is probably worth 1.8. Okay. I bought another one, 10 unit for $289. Same deal, $0 out of pocket other than my closing costs. It was like $3,500. And I bought that building. That thing's worth probably close to $1 million right now. And then I bought like a 4 unit for $42,000. I ended up selling a few years later for 180 or 185 or something like that. There was like you just pick them, and they were there for the picking. It was a great market.
I honestly, I knew what I know now, I would have been.
You would have been 15.
I would have been 15 at that point. But I wish, for some reason, I'm always like, I wish I knew this back then. And I'm like, I probably couldn't pull this off, but maybe I could.
Yeah.
But seeing the benefits now. So let's actually dig into the market today then. You were finding deals back then, but you're still buying, you're still creating, you're still doing real estate. How are you finding deals, or how are you creating deals? What makes a good deal for you?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in knowing your market really well, right? I think it all comes down to being able to identify what a deal is. And in order to do that, you need to be able to be educated on that market, in that specific market that you're looking to buy, right? I'll give you an example. I'm so entrenched in the town that I invest in that I look at the MLS on a daily basis. People say that you can't find deals in the MLS, and they've been saying that since 2018, which is about when we stopped probably buying like often from the MLS. But there are always properties that, if the market well enough, are mispriced. And if you can come in with an aggressive enough offer, that you can purchase these properties and do well with them, right? So this, just in the last 6 months, this is, for example, I saw a 4 unit come up for $299 in our market, where I know for a fact that building, that specific building, in the condition that it was in, it was gut renovated, all sheetrock, no plaster on the walls, updated kitchens, the bathrooms were newer, probably about 5 years old. So it was probably gut renovated like 2015, something like that. They had a facade grant, so the whole front of the building was all brand new, looked beautiful.
Wow.
It listed for $299 because the rents in the building were like $600, $700, like really low, when they should be about $1,000. Okay. I locked that deal up at $325, went in, talked to the tenants, raised them up to market rents, didn't do any work to the building. Okay. I had a tenant that moved out, one of them. One of the units was delivered vacant. So I put 2 new tenants in at market rate. The other 2 tenants I brought to market, relisted the property at $430, where it's appropriately priced for the area. And I had 7 offers at between $430 to $440. Okay.
Wow.
And anybody could do that, right? I didn't do anything. All I did was I noticed that the property was mispriced. Okay. And I executed on the property. Okay. I did that. I did another one that we just closed on that was for $199. It's a 2 unit, but it was built in like the late 70s, which is
on
rare
market again.
On market, MLS.
Like Zillow, if somebody's out there doesn't have an agent, they can look on Zillow and find this.
And I bought both of these. I locked them both up day one that they were listed because I'm monitoring the market. That one, same deal. I bought it for $199. One tenant was moving out. The other one was in arrears, so I evicted them. They were paying $900 each. Market rent for those apartments about $15. So once I re-rent them for $15, I'd probably be listing that for sale for about $340.
Wow.
Okay. And those are deals that anybody can do if they're quick enough to jump and they know how to underwrite and what the value of the properties are. And that all comes down to just educating yourself on the market. And that's kind of, I stick with one specific market because over the time that I've been investing here, I've become an expert on what things are worth, how to operate in this market, and build and forge relationships. And it's the benefit to buying and staying in one place versus have a 5-unit here, a 6-unit here, a 10-unit here, this, all these different towns, municipalities that have different laws, different rules, different neighborhoods, different that kind of thing.
Yep. So if you become a market expert in your area, you could make the relationships you need to make, build the teams you need to build, and then that'll actually enable you to be able to buy quicker, to do renovations quicker, to know your market better. And the crazy thing is that you're saying is these are all things that anyone can do because it's on Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com. You can find all these deals out there. And I doubted myself for finding some of the deals I found because of the market stigma that you cannot find good deals on market. When I was first started buying in 2021, I saw a duplex hop on the market for 160, and with the market knowledge that I had, I was like, that's got to be worth 200 at least in its current condition. And I was like, I almost backed out of it because I was like, you can't find good deals on the market. But truth be told here with your story that it can be done. So let's dig in a little bit. We're coming up to our final questions here. If you were starting from nothing right now, let's say you're back at 24 years old right now, no money, let's say you're making 70K at a job. How would you build up to, let's say, 10,000 passive income per month?
Well, I back into the number, right? So $10,000 passive is probably about 25 doors.
Right.
Somewhere between 25 to 30, I'd say. At an average, so let's say it's 25. Average value on per unit in the market I'm looking in say in Allentown, it's about 100 a door for medium quality stuff. So that's 2.5 million, right? In order to buy $2.5 million worth of real estate, you need 25% down, 5% with closing costs, right? At a minimum. Right. So you're talking about $750,000. So making $70,000 a year, it's going to be real difficult to come up with 750K. So the first thing I would probably do is, like I said, I would learn how to underwrite a deal, and then I would do 50 of them, 60 of them. So like, what happens when you do it that many times, you end up getting a sixth sense for, hey, what's a good deal? What's a crappy deal? So it's first, you got to figure out how do you underwrite these correctly? Okay. There's a million different ways to figure that out. Find a mentor, ask people, just go on YouTube, go on BiggerPockets, whatever it is. So find out how to really underwrite a deal the right way, and then do as many as you possibly can. Okay. Once you get 50 or 60 spreadsheets under your belt where you really understand how the price and the value and all that stuff interplays with the cost of the property and the price, then I'd start looking for deals that I could do what I just described, that are deals that are mispriced, deals that are smaller, but you still do well with. If you could buy, for example, that 2-unit for $199 and then go and sell it for $325, right? And make $100,000, right? Now you're on your way, right? Now you're on your way to getting enough capital to buy those units that you want to hold. So I would do a handful of those. Maybe you start out year one where you do 2 or 3 and you generate $200,000 or $250,000 in capital, right? And as deals come up, you either choose to purchase and deploy that capital into a long-term hold, or you use that money to do the same thing again. And, I'm not talking about properties where you're doing heavy renovations, where you're gut renovating them, where you're doing something crazy. I'm talking about really just finding properties that are literally mispriced and executing on them and making that delta. Maybe you got to clean up and paint and refinish the floors or something small, something light, something cosmetic. But I would do that to generate the capital to buy the deals that are going to be something that I'm going to hold. And it's not going to happen overnight. And it's not going to now wants to get rich overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. I don't know. I felt completely broke for the first 8 years of my journey. It is what it is. It's hyperbolic. It's not, or what's it called? It's exponential, right? Exponential, not hyperbolic. Exponential. So, it goes like this. And then next thing you know, you look back 2 years and you're like, holy shit, what happened? But it's a slower game than a lot of people peddle. Right. People say that you could do it super quick. You could do it really fast. Look, I think if you're going to do it the right way in order to do it the right way, you need to get your lumps. You need to lose a little bit. You need to learn some hard lessons. And I think slow and steady wins the race. I don't think you're going from $70,000 a year to $10,000 passive a month in a year or 2 years. I think it takes a little bit longer, personally.
And if you can find a way to buy these underpriced assets and maybe raise rents a little bit, not change, you could sell them and at least replace. If you can do a few of these deals where you make 40,000 on one deal, you could replace your current income with that money. So that might make you feel safe. And then if you don't have your job anymore, you can literally focus 100% on real estate and focus on finding those deals.
Yeah. And one thing that I do want to stress is the underpriced properties that I'm referring to, they should work as, if you get stuck and the market changes, it should work as a rental also, which to me, if I quote unquote well, is 15 to 20% cash on cash return with 25%. That's what I consider a property that works really well. And they're not easy to find. I'm not sitting out here and saying that they're all over that's a safe property. I personally wouldn't invest in a property if it's making less than that. That's my target.
Yeah, you definitely jumped in at an incredible time.
I got lucky. If I was 5 years older, man, I probably would have lost my shirt. I got lucky in when I jumped in and when I learned. If I jumped in 5 years earlier, you got ninja loans with no income. I would have been buying my temperament. I would have bought everything. I would have just been buying shit. Maniac. But I'm lucky, lucky. Yeah, that I was able to buy when I start when I was able to start. And then I learned the lessons that I learned from everybody else losing their shirt that was investing 5 years earlier.
And that's why our listeners should listen to stories like this that urge you not to just jump in and buy everything, but
educate yourself.
Educate yourself and buy a good deal in whatever market we're in right now. Jumping forward. What is one actionable step that our listeners should take today to start on their path towards financial freedom?
Yeah, I think you got to find an easy Excel profit and loss projection sheet, a pro forma sheet. Nothing with too many bells and whistles. Just what the rents are minus the vacancy. Subtract the fixed expenses, which are the real estate taxes, if there's any local rental fees, insurance, whatever utilities there are, and then maintenance and CapEx. And I think if you can just figure out how to underwrite a property correctly, do 50, do 100 of them. Online on Zillow, filter for multifamily properties, call the agents, ask them what the current rents are, ask them what they think that properties could rent for if they were re-rented. Put an as is, put an as complete pro forma, ask them what each unit needs in terms of, does it need just get painted and cleaned up? Does it need a new kitchen? Does it need a new bathroom? And do the numbers and understand how they work. And do 50, do 100. It's free. You can just call the agents. They'll talk to you. You know what I mean? Just do it. So it doesn't cost any money. It costs $0 to do this. You can educate yourself.
Right. And you're educating yourself. As a summary there, learn how to calculate and evaluate real estate deals, and then do the other due diligence that is involved there. So if you got to reach out to an agent and you're using Zillow, there's literally, you scroll down a little bit, it tells you the agent that listed it. You could Google that agent's name, put in cell phone number, find their cell phone, call them up, and find out what are the current rents, what needs to be done, what are the issues on the property.
Even if you want to take it a step after you underwrite 50 of them, go look at them, go visit them, grade them from A to F. Hey, this is an A condition, this is an B condition, this is a C condition, D, F, whatever it is, and then do 50 of those. Spend the time, really learn. Then you're going to find a deal that's in great condition and you're going to know because you visited 25 of them already. You're going to say, wait, this is in really good condition and the numbers are phenomenal. And you're going to know comparatively to other ones just intuitively by having done this so many times. And that's how you're going to find your deal that makes sense.
Right. So let's learn how to do that. And you can keep listening, keep following, because I'm sure we will dig into that in the future. Now, last question here. What is one question that you wish I would have asked you, or one topic that you wish we would have covered, and how would you have answered? What would you have expanded upon on that topic?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest pitfalls when underwriting these deals is that people underestimate the amount of maintenance, repair, CapEx needed to operate these properties. Typically, when you get the numbers from an agent or a broker, their numbers are they're going to be so deflated that they just don't make sense. And if you don't know the difference, you don't know the difference. I know for my business, and I have in-house guys, okay, that work for me full time that do our maintenance, okay, and I've been doing this a long enough time that I track what everything costs.
Right.
Our costs for, if you lump everything together, maintenance, material, repairs, capex, the whole gamut across our whole portfolio, right? We're always somewhere between that $1,500 to $1,800 per unit per year. Okay. If you don't have your own in-house guys and you're calling contractors to do this stuff every time there's a repair, that number better be higher than that.
Much higher.
by a decent shot. Okay.
Right.
So when you look at a pro forma, or you look at somebody that's giving you a profit and loss projection and it's $1,000 a unit for the year, just throw it out. It's not real. Okay. For every $1,000 or every $1,200 that it costs you per unit per year, that's an extra $100 off of what you're making per unit per year. You should be shooting, at least in a market where your rents are between $1,000 to $1,200-$1,500. You want to be making between $300 to $400 after your debt service, after your mortgage, is what you want to make per property. That's ideal.
And that's for a 1-bedroom, you're saying, between
or whatever. Yeah, whatever. Apartments, thousands at $1,500, whatever it is.
Right. So do not underestimate what your cost could be, because that can be detrimental, right? If you go into a property,
it'll kill you.
Right.
It'll drown you.
If you're gonna make your cash flowing $200 a month on each unit, and you have two furnaces that go, there goes 3 years of cash flow.
Right.
You know, this investment's not paying off. And if you didn't buy it with some equity built into this property, you put yourself in a pigeonhole there.
Yeah.
Hey, I think it's been great today. I think the listeners got some awesome information. The main topic I think we really touched on was we need to learn how to underwrite deals. Go find deals with some equity built into them, and you can really scale a portfolio after that, because you give yourself options. If you have equity in there, you could sell the property, you could refinance the property and hold it for renting, and buy each property as if you're gonna buy and hold. So where can my listeners, watchers, where can they find you online or connect with you outside of here?
Yeah, I don't really have too much of an online presence, man. Keep flying under the radar.
So if they have any questions, any way they can reach out to you?
I got an Instagram that I don't use too often at Landlording 101.
Landlord, from the Financial Freedom Fast podcast. I appreciate you coming on today.